it's crazy, baby, bro. Like I watched Married with Children. In my mind, I still see it like, hey, there's nothing wrong with it. Like it's caught up with the times. I mean, just like the footage and the picture of it. Who's the best taco? I think you said you had a fish taco, shrimp taco. I forgot you had like 3 tacos.
Yeah, I had 3 little tacos. It was two.
All right, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the pad. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep in between the lines. Got your load secure. The Spence, we're a little late. That's not our fault. We were here on time, but StreamYard was tripping on us. Holmes trying to make us, trying to kick us off up here. But it's all right. We're here now, man. What's up, son? Hold life for Wes Carson. Órale, si se puede, man. That's right. Shout out to my brother Alfonso right there. Round 1, Andrew. Vanessa La Chingona. Shout out to you guys. So check this out. What's up, Crusted? So probably about a month ago, I was just on YouTube, man, and seeing like, hey, what else is out there? I watch a couple of channels here and there, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me see what else is out there. And I saw this one homie, man, and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and check him out. Looks like he's kicking in his office or something like that. And he already had probably like 2 videos, right? And I listened to his first video, and I'm like, all right, I like this vato. I like where this vato's coming from, right? And then I saw his second video, and I'm like, all right, cool. I subscribed to him, and I've been following him ever since. So I went ahead, got a hold of him, and I'm like, hey, homie, we like to chop it up, man, because he's got quite the story. And that's what we're gonna be here to do, man. And he's here to spread the word, Holmes, the good word that is. So everybody, let's go ahead and let's give it up, man, from the Ramona Garden Projects, Holmes. Let's give it up for my man, Danny G. How you doing, Danny?
Hey, how's it doing, my brother? How's it going?
Good. Got a night. Good, homie. That's how basically I came across your channel, brother. I was just like looking, I'm like, all right, cool. Let me just keep scrolling around, and your channel came up. It was probably more like 3 weeks ago, but you just started, you know?
Yeah. I've been wanting to do something like this. I've been wanting to speak and speak the truth, man. I mean, I know you see me. Well, I know there's some that have seen my picture out there, from the movie American Me, that was done in my neighborhood, and me and my homeboy were kicking it one day right after the movie was done, and somebody, I was not in the movie, but we were there. It was from my neighborhood, but they interviewed us. This is way back in 1992, and but I'm over here. I moved away, and I surrendered my life to the Lord, and now I go to jails. I go to jails, and I speak to a lot of gangsters in there, to get them out of their stinking mentality, and and give them introduce them to a man that changed his lives. But I see my name out there, and they're using my name. They speak nothing bad, but they're using my name, and they're saying things about how it was back in those days. And
Mm.
so I've been wanting to get on there and say, wait a minute, let me say really what's going on. Some even thought that I was dead. Some go, these guys are old, they're already dead. I said, no, I'm still alive. I'm still here. What are you talking about? I see some of the views. I said, what do you
Uh,
mean? I'm still alive, man. I'm still in my prime. And so yeah, that's why I started this couple of videos. So thank you, brother. Thank you.
yeah.
I just want to tell you, thank gracias for giving me this opportunity to share my testimony, canal. The high life, the
Yeah,
values.
no, homie. No. The pleasure's mine, Katana, especially a man of your stature. you and I, we've been talking off air, man, and saying, hey, I actually live across the freeway from the Ramona Garden projects, man, and right there on Sea
Yes,
Terrace Drive.
Terrace,
And
Terrace,
it
just like
was it was it was definitely a different time, homie. It was definitely a different time. But we'll get into all that, and the picture that's in the background of you being interviewed for the movie American Me and all that, and whatever that we can do. I don't know how much we're really gonna go into detail, but let's
yeah.
start with you, brother. Let's start with you first, Carnal. Where were you born? You were raised in East Los. Uh, Take us through a little bit about that. Talk to us a little bit about your home. Mom, dad, together, not together, raised by them, not raised by them, siblings. And what era was this? The 60s, the 70s? Talk to us a little bit about when you were a little kid.
Well, as far as I remember, I have always been from the Ramona Gardens Hazard Projects. I have always lived there for what I could think of. I think I was only maybe 4, 5, 6 years old. I remember we were living there. I remember I was sitting on the little porch, and I remember my sister. She bought me a little airplane, and I threw the airplane at the curb. Some kid ran over with a bike. My sister ran out like, "What are you doing?" And my dad, my Fito, he used to play the guitarra. He used to play the guitar right there in the parade, right in the steps. But we moved out of there. I remember my dad, rest in peace. My mom also rest in peace. But we moved from the Parectos to San Antonio, Texas, and we lived over there. Um, and I was 9 years old. I was 9 years old. My dad, he was in the army. He retired, came out the army. And he got stabbed with a bayonet in his back, and so he was out the army, and we lived in Texas. And I remember 1968. My mom was working. My mom was working, and my dad. I come from school, and my dad tells me, "Come on, Migos." I come from. I have 5 sisters. I have a step brother, and me. And but for my dad and my mom, it was just me. I was very spoiled, very spoiled. And for what I could remember, my dad was. I was coming from school. My dad goes, "Come on, Migos, help me out," and we were doing this, fixing his TV for him. He was working on his TV, and I was helping him. And we stood up all night, and then all night we stood up. And I remember my Frita wakes up, and she got mad at my dad. "What's Daddy Boy doing here?" Because he used to call me Daddy Boy. "What is
Mhm.
Daddy Boy doing staying up?" And my dad goes, "All right, Miguel, go to sleep." And I remember I ran in the room, and I remember I heard the car start up, and I came out the cuarto. I looked, and my dad and my mom was taking off. My dad was taking my mom to go to work because she works in
Mhm.
homes. And I
Okay.
remember Canales, and we dropped my mom off, and my little sister Linda was born, and my mom tells my dad, "Hey, go to the store and buy some milk and get some coffee, because you need to sleep." And my dad, and then my mom goes, "Oh, never mind, just go home, go back home and take Daddy Boy, go to sleep." And my dad was stubborn. He goes, "No, no, I'll go get it." And I remember we went to the base. We went to the base, and I remember I was drinking some hot chocolate, and he was drinking some coffee. And
Mhm.
because the base was around the corner, as we used to always go and buy comida back in those days. That was the base where you came out of it. So
Okay.
I remember we're coming out, man. We're coming out the base, and I'm looking at the soldiers. They're doing their exercises, and I'm looking, and I felt the car kind of bumpy, and I turned around, and my dad was asleep. He had his hand, the steering was asleep, and I turned, and boom, we hit this big old pole, canal, and I remember, canal, that I opened the door, and I walked out, and I fell, and I had these soldiers all around me, and I remember the captain, because he lived right across from us. He had a big old hat with a big old eagle, and he said, "Daddy Boy, stay still." And I remember I turned around, and they dragged my dad out of the car. So just to say this, Carla, is that my dad passed away. That hurted me. That hurted me, and I didn't cry. I took it hard. And about 6 months later, my mom moved from San Antonio, Texas, back to the Parectos, back to East LA, where we came out of. And that's
Okay.
where
And this is when you were 9 years old.
I was 9 years old.
All
And I
right.
came,
So okay. Just to make it clear. So you were in the car with your jefito
My
when he passed away.
yeah, and
Damn.
it's hard, brother. It's hard because I didn't have a fito, and I
Mhm.
didn't have a dad. I wish I did,
Mm.
and I am, and I tell a lot of you guys out there that have dads, man, cherish your dad, cherish your mom, man. And I didn't have that. And when I was in the Parectos, I, you know, my mom taking care of all my sisters, I didn't
Mm.
really want to, listen to her. I started going out in the Parectos. I started meeting some friends, and that's where my life started, man. That's where my life started in the projects, man. Growing,
All
running
right.
around, and you know what?
Before Spencer, I don't mean to cut you off, homie. But before we get to that, carnal, did you want to be like your okay? So okay, there's two things. One is you were the only child of your mom and dad, correct? Everybody else was half.
Yeah, yeah, my
Okay.
stepbrother, yeah.
Okay. Um, and two, I just want to clarify. That's all, Holmes. But two, did you ever think of wanting to be in the military, like your old man? Did you guys lived on base? What did you want to do
Oh,
when you were a little kid? Did you want to be a soldier?
yeah, it's funny that you asked that because you know what? Growing when I got into trouble and my mom wanted to remarry, and I didn't want her to remarry because I didn't want no dad image coming into the home. I was a rugged person. I didn't take nothing for nobody. I didn't want nobody telling me what to do. And so I was, I didn't want that. And so what I did is I ran away from home. 10 years old, I ran away. Um, Went to juvenile hall and got out of juvenile hall, and I remember my mom was showing me, rest in peace. She was showing me a certificate that she got married, and I got it. I said, "What?" I was so mad, like a little kid. I was so mad. I tore it up, and I ran away from home again. And when I ran away from home, I went to juvenile hall. From there, I went to camp, and I remember that my probation officer said, "You know what? We're gonna put this guy." Well, the judge wanted me to he wanted to send me to YA. I was 21 years old. He says,
Mhm.
because you're not going to listen to your mom, you don't want to go to school, you ran away twice, we're just going to put you in YA until you're 21. But my probation officer says, you know what? Send him to YA for 90 days observation. I don't know if you know what that is. 90 days observation when you go to YA for 3 months and they examine you, they talk to you and they figure you out. And
Mhm.
so that judge was putting me down. He was saying, "You're nobody. You don't have no respect for your mom. You have no respect for this. I want to send you in, but you know what? I respect your probation officer, so I want to give you 90 days." So I did. I went in there, did 90 days, but within the 90 days that I was in there, I wrote to the Army, Marines. I wrote to them because I was thinking about, you know what? My dad was in the service. Maybe I could join. Maybe I could do something. And I signed in, and they sent me a brochure, they sent me everything. That helped me to get out. I wasn't doing that as a cop out to get out, but
Mhm.
that did help me get out. I went to court. The judge released me after 90 days. He says, "You know what?" He says, "I hope you do better. I know you want to join the service, so go on and join." So I got out, and I remember that I was in the living room, sitting down. They were coming. They were coming that day to take me and my half brother. He was going to take both of us,
Mhm.
and they knocked on the door, and they knocked, and I got up, and I said, no. I looked at my brother. I said, "I'm out of here," and I ran out the back door, and they ended up taking him. I regret it, Canal. I regret to this day, man. I should have went in because I ran out the back door, and that was it. That was it. And so again,
What year was this?
this was bad. This was, I think, I think 74 or 73.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was only 17 years old.
Okay,
Uh,
let me ask you this, Holmes.
mm,
When you moved from San Antonio, because your old man died and he passed away, and you move your mom, you guys we go back to Ramona Gardens.
mhm.
Um, did everybody remember you? Did
No,
everybody is like, oh, you know what, Danny's back,
no,
Holmes?
no, no, nobody really remembered me. I mean, I And like I said, I was a kid when I moved out of there. I was only like
Mm,
maybe 5 or 6. So I didn't remember
okay.
nobody. And when I went back there, I knew my mom did. My mom, there was family that knew my mom. They
Yeah.
remembered her. But as far as me remembering anybody, I didn't remember nobody. I remember that I started hanging around with a few of my homeboys. Staying up late at night, getting locote. Just hanging around with them. And that was
Okay.
exciting for me, man. That was my familia right there. And
Yeah.
and the proyectos, man, it was live at that time. The neighbors there be the same, but it was live, man. We were out there all the time and growing up. And I remember that I just I learned the hard way. Who does it? Who doesn't learn the hard way? I learned the hard way, and I have nothing but sisters. They all wanted to come out to the value and roam me. I said, no, 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 you get back in the house. You ain't gonna come out here. And some of my little homeboys wanted to be with my canadas. I said, no, 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 you're not gonna be with my canadas. And
You
so
know,
it was rough.
Ramona Garden Projects, man, it's definitely one of those places that you don't go in there unless you know somebody.
Yeah,
Even in a car, you don't just
yeah,
drive through there unless you know somebody. You don't just willy nilly, just like, oh, well, let me take a shortcut or something to get to Eastern to, get to
yeah.
the 10 freeway or something. You don't drive through there unless you know somebody. You're going to make a stop there because you know somebody. But yeah, Remote Garden Projects, man, that's not a place that you just go through. But
Well,
yeah,
we had a
when
just
did
like
you get into your barrio, man, where it's like, okay, now it's on?
well, I remember I started hanging around with the homies, and I got into a clica, I got into a clica, a young clica, and it was all good, man. I mean, just being out there, getting locote, me and the hyenas, partying all night with the homies. I mean, it was good, man. It was like my value it's like a magnet, man. It just wants to keep you in there.
Mhm.
I never wanted to be home. I never listened to my mom. I used to always iron my ropa when I was young. Iron your ropa, man. Get all your tramos all creased out and go out there. That was my life. That's what I love doing. I love being out there with them and having a great time. But as time went on, I ended up getting arrested again. I ended up going back to jail again, and I went to YA again, and this time when I went to YA, I did a longer period of time than just 3 months. And I remember I got out, and I think it was 1977 that I got out, and at this time I was a little bit older. I think I was 18 or 19, and I remember I walked down to my neighborhood, and I mean it was kicking. I mean there was so many homeboys out there, so many homegirls. A lot of the homeboys I didn't know. A lot of some of my victims when I was a kid, growing up with them. And I remember one time, Varios, man, they always try you out. You know, they always see if you got cora. Let's see what you could handle. Who's this guy? Let's see what this guy could handle. And I
Yeah.
remember, Canada it was like that with me. I went up there to the hill, and all my homeboys were up there, man. And some of them knew me, some of them didn't. And I remember there was some veteranos that they looked at me, and I was a little small little guy. And I remember they tried me out. They had a homeboy, hey, I heard this from the long run afterwards, hey, try this vato out, see if he has any quota. And I remember I'm kicking back right there. I'm looking at all my homegirls right there, just looking at them. And I remember this dude, man, just bam, he bounced on me. I mean, I turned around and I just started fighting back. And first of all, I want to kind of show respect to him because he already passed away. But he was a tall guy, man. He was pounding at me, and I started pounding back at him. And we went like 7 rounds, and I got the best of him though, and that's how I became. I was known, and so that's when a lot of veteranos came up to me and says, "You know what, man?" He goes, "Yeah." you're gonna be an art clica, man. We didn't care how old you were because they were already about 5 years older than me, and I was. You're gonna be my clique. You're gonna be, you're gonna run with us, and that's how I started making a name for myself as being a fighter. Um,
Yeah, I'm not really sure for people that are not really familiar with gangs, and maybe not all gangs, but a lot of gangs. It's not just the barrio and that's it. You got a lot of little clicas in there. You might have, you might have the you're all from the same barrio, but then you got the little clicas, like the tiny winos, the little the
yeah.
tokers, little rascals, little different clicas, man. But they're all from the same barrio. So yeah, definitely, man. Um, and different clicas had reputations for what they were more into. It's more of who you kicked it with and what you were really known for. And mainly the older guys would be from a certain clique than some of the other guys. So you got embraced by them. And I bet that was just a great feeling for you at that time, Holmes.
Well, what, you learn, and growing up in my neighborhood, I learned to respect the veteranos. I learned to respect them because they knew a lot, and they taught me a lot. I learned a lot from veteranos. I learned to respect them. I remember a veterano told me, he goes, Danny, you always respect your elders because one day you're gonna be where they're at, and respect your youngsters because one day they're gonna be where you're at. And so I used to, take it, not all the time would I listen, but the respect for the veteranos were there. Just like a lot of barrios, our barrio, it was tough. Our neighbor was tough. Our neighbor hold our own. We hold our own, and we had a lot of respect for each other, though. Yes, my neighborhood, we allow people to come in that were not from there. We hold our own. Our neighbor was surrounded. We had hills around my neighborhood, and there was barrios all around us. And growing up in my neighborhood, it was tough. It was tough. Um, I, I, I give God all the glory for taking me out of it, because now I look back at of the times, the good days. I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved being around my homeboys and my homegirls. I loved it, man. But it was never really. It only lasted for a little while.
Yes.
The Hudas
Yeah.
will come, man, and I learned to hate the Hudas, man. I wasn't born to hate them. I learned to hate them. I learned to disrespect them because they will grab my homeboys for nada, and what are you doing? Where you going? And I was a little chavalon walking by there looking at them, and the first time one of those cops put their hands on me, I told them, "What are you doing? Get your paws off me!" And I was a fighter. I wasn't that much of a speaker. I would like to fight. So I would turn
Mhm.
around and then bam, and there you go, fighting with them. And I have in my neighborhood, I got five or some police officers. Now a lot of times it wasn't me. A lot of times I'm just trying to hold my own. I'm trying to stop them from beating me up. But
Y-
I never gave up. I was always fighting back with them, and that's the way it was in my neighborhood. It was the good times and it was the sad times. Because many times I'll be incarcerated or I'll be in the pinta or doing a year, 2 years, and missing out. Missing being out there.
you
That's the way.
you know Danny, there was a lot of uncles talk about the 90s, right? The 90s and the 90s, the 90s. And yeah, you know what, the 90s were on and cracking. Definitely. I was around at that time. I think the era from the late 70s to the early 2000s, I just all those years right there were like true gang banging years. Maybe it was a little bit different and maybe not as many shootings in the late 70s and early 80s, but getting into the late 80s, I mean, it was shootings all the time. The 90s, it was shootings. I hear people complain about shootings today. It's like, oh man, it's crazy out there. It's crazy. It's like, um, look, it sucks that it still happens, but no, let's not say like, hey man, things were very peaceful once upon a time, and just today it's just completely, a war zone. Depending on where you live in, but I saw it much more violent back then, and more people were outside back then, which brought a lot of violence. And one thing that I really like that you said is, or that your homeboy told you, was, a respect your elders, because one day you're gonna be there where they're at, and respect your youngsters, because one day the youngsters are gonna be where you're at right now. So I always liked that. I think that was probably something that hasn't been passed down, where some vatos don't want to respect youngsters. They just want to trash the youngsters. And I'm always like, you come at youngsters the wrong way, man. They're gonna have a certain attitude. You know what I mean? We're already kind of having a problem with discipline when it comes to youngsters. You don't want to go out there and start cracking the whip, man, unless you're gonna get busy with them. But yeah,
You know,
I like that saying. I like the saying of respect your elders, and respect the youngsters too.
there's no more respect. There's no more respect. If there was respect, there will be, to me. Before when I was growing up in the valley with a lot of veteranos, I used to love being around them. That's because they give me the name Little Man, because I used to be around the veteranos. Um, I remember their stories back in their days, man. They used to, manitas, when they used to fight, these manitas, man, come out with the bats or whatever, manitas. There was hardly any cohetes. There was hardly any guns coming out.
Yeah.
Puro manitas. And so when I grew up in that era, I didn't like guns. I didn't like guns, and I still don't, guns or knives. Um, and so what I used to always say, 'cause I used to be a fighter. I used to always tell me, hey, you got quota? Let's stop. Let's come on. Let's see what you have. But there's a lot of disrespect now. Before I will fight with one of my homeboys, 'cause I used to fight a lot. Afterwards, I will shake his hand. I'll say, come on, I will shake his bicep. Let's go. Come on, let's go party now. That's just the way I was. But now, man, there's no respect. You get being down, man, you go pick up a gun. There's no respect. I think like in the late 80s or in middle 80s to 90s, that's when the drive-bys started happening. There's a lot of drive-bys out there. And I never understood that. I never understood how nowadays, carnal. Nowadays, you see little girls getting shot by a drive-by. What?
Mm.
I mean, where's the quota in that? Where's the respect in that? That's why, Kanan, I thank God that He came into my life 35 years ago. Thank Him, and that's the reason why I do videos now. That's the reason why I'm here. To show a lot of gangsters out there that that's not all it now. There's no respect now. There is none.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into that in just a minute, Holmes. But like you were saying, actual drive-bys were taking place, and then it was that that changed, where it's like, okay, it's not going to be an actual drive-by, but now you got to get out of the car, and that kind of changed the game a little bit. But
Yeah,
I mean, shootings, it was going on all the time, man. I heard shootings
yeah,
every night I heard shootings. That's why when I hear people complain today about, like, oh man, there's a lot. No, not quite like before,
yeah.
but
I know
yeah, I mean,
nowadays
it
not a lot.
still goes on, don't get me wrong, it still goes on. But it was, I think it was I'm sorry, a lot more dangerous before than it is
Yeah,
today. But
yeah. Yes,
I
it
want
was.
to go ahead, and I want to ask you this. And because I've been watching some of your videos, and some of the things that you've been saying on your videos, which really caught my eye and my ear, and which is why I wanted to talk to you. And I'm like, man, you know what, this guy, he's coming, man. He's coming straight from the heart. You know what I mean? So um let's talk a little bit about what happened when they were filming the movie American Me. You were there. They filmed it in your barrio, parts of it. They uh they went and talked to you guys and everything. I don't know how much you really want to put out there, homie. I'll leave that up to you. But
Well,
can you take us through that?
I'll say the truth. First of all, that movie American Me should never have been done in my knee, boy. It should never have been done. For the fact is because it wasn't. I mean, most of it was pura mentiras, mentiras. Most of it were lies. And I look back at it now, and I see it as just deceiving many youngsters liked the movie. They loved what went on, but it was mentiras. It was a lot of it was lies, and it attracts a lot of gente. Don't know why. So that movie should never have been done. I remember that we're in the hill. We're up there, and I remember I was talking to my homeboys, and I will mention my homeboy's name because rest in peace. My homeboy Flappers, the one me and him were talking. Um, we seen this bus come in, my neighbor, and I said, "What's going on? What's that bus?" And we see other cars coming. What's that? Well, that's James Amos. He's gonna make a movie down here, American Me. And we're talking. He says, "What?" Yeah, and he was talking about that whoever wants to join was gonna get paid some feria, and we're for that. We say, "Yeah, feria, man, come on, let's do it."
Mhm,
And I remember that I wanted, I was thinking about, hey, who should I talk to? What homeboy's doing there? What homeboy's running? Come on, I want to get in it.
mhm.
And I remember my homeboy Flappers came up to me. He says, "Don't get in it, man. He goes, don't get in it." I said, "Okay," and I stood away from it. I stood away from it, and like I said, it was something, man. That that movie right there. It not only uh, destroyed a lot of things, but it got a lot of people in trouble. And
Le-
that's a sad thing about it.
le- Let me ask you this, Dan, before you go on, Carnal. Allow me to cut you off. But the movie came out in 1992. What year were they actually filming it? And did you guys know what the movie was going to be about?
I personally didn't know what the movie was going to be about. I heard rumors of it, but sometimes, brother, you hear rumors, and they're just rumors. You don't want to be somebody that's going to be passing out rumors that you heard.
Mhm, mhm.
So I personally didn't know really what it was going to be about until after the movie was done.
Okay. Do you remember what year they were filming?
Yeah, but it was 1992,
Oh,
91,
really?
91, and then in 92, I think. But I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
wow.
it was
Okay.
92. Yeah,
Oh, so it was a quick turnaround, man. Okay. All right. And when you were told, "Hey, don't get in it," did you ask at all, like why or anything like that? I mean, again, Holmes, I'm not trying to pull
I had
anything
a
out of you, not whatever you feel comfortable talking
yeah,
about.
but no, I knew in a sense, why they wanted to make that movie down there, and I knew also why I was told, hey, stay away from it. First of all, I believe that, like I said, that movie should never have been done. Um, they should never went down there and try to make that movie. And James Almos, as far as I know, he lied to get that movie done. And so, and everything else is history, my brother. It hurts me because I lost a lot of good friends. You know.
Yeah, I we'll leave that subject right there, man. Ramona Garden Projects, the barrio right there in the gang world in Los Angeles is a well respected area. So, we'll leave that subject right there. But gracias, brother, for the insight, man. Um,
Yeah, you're welcome, brother.
yeah, Danny, you're in and out of prison. You're kicking it with the homies. I can relate to you when it comes to kicking with the homeboys. It was fun. I've changed my life, right?
Yeah,
And I still think of myself kicking it with the homies and everything every now and then, right? and I laugh, and it was just like, man, it was a good time. It was fun and everything. But it's weird, Holmes. And I want to ask you, what do you think that grip is that the gang life has on one? Because even when somebody changes their life, like you and I have, and it's like, hey, man, that life is no good. But yet at the same time, you think back and it's like, oh man, those were some good times. And it's like, well, wait a second. It's I don't want my sons to be doing that. But at the same time, I'd look back at it. Is there a little bit of pride to it? I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, there's a little bit of pride to it. Like, hey, homie, we stood our ground, we did our thing. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I wouldn't want any of my loved ones to live that life. Yet I think about it every now and then, and it's like, man, that was that was crazy. And I could kind of laugh about it, and then I turn around and I tell my sons, hey, don't live that life, which is why I say be careful, to everybody, right? Because I see a lot of vatos, man. I see a lot of vatos, talking about their past and everything, and they're laughing with their homies, and they're drinking a beer, and the young, their kids are right there in front of them, or their nephews or whatever, and it's like, oh man, we used to go do this and everything. Oh damn, and they're laughing with each other, and hey, those were some crazy times, homie. And then they look at them and say like, hey, but you know what? It's not good. Don't do that. I always tell about this, hey, be careful talking like that in front of youngsters if you really don't want them to go down that route. Because if you're over there slapping each other on the shoulder, hey, remember, dog, when we went over there, homie, and we put hands on them vatos, dog, and then they came back and you guys are all smiling and joking and drinking, and then say, hey, we went back and bam, dog, I socked them, and you're telling stories like that, and then you turn around and tell them, hey, but it's not good, man. Stay in school. It's like, well, wait, hold on, man. Look at the way they saw you interacting. Look at the way they saw you talking. Look at the way they saw you, laughing about it and talking about it was a crazy time, and you're smiling and you guys are having these stories. I always tell about those, chillax on that storytelling time, especially when you have youngsters in front of you. You just turning around and telling them, hey, but don't do it. It's like, no, they just saw you, how you were interacting and having a good time, and how, oh man, you're partying with so many hyenas and back then. But I will say, Danny, there is something to it. I don't know what it is, Holmes. I don't know, because I do think back and I do, laugh a little bit and tan like that was, that was a crazy time, homie. It was, and I in my mind I am thinking like, yeah, I had some good times. It was foolish and everything, but there was some, do you think, Danny, that the gang life just kind of has like a strong grip on it's an addiction, it is, but what do you think that is, Holmes? Because like how you were saying, how you loved it being out there with the homeboys, so did I. But do I want my sons doing it? No,
Kind
I
of,
don't.
I think to be honest with you, um, I believe that the foundation, the foundation that we're walking on, the foundation that I walked on, I didn't know no better. And the foundation that I walked on was the foundation that my kids were going to walk on. And, and values are always going to be there. Gangs are always going to be here. But yes, values like a magnet, it sucks you in. The good times, the running with the homies, getting all dressed up, running with the hyenas, having a good time. There's like a magnet that you want to be there. But you know what? It's sad, though, canal. It's sad, man, because it destroys people's lives. You're doing tiempo, and when you're doing time, who you hurting? Who you're hurting? You're hurting your loved ones. There's always someone that's gonna suffer. And like I said, being out there in the volume, you said, and respect to what you said that it's like an addiction. But I think, my brother, that being in the volumes and being in drogas and living that lifestyle, man, I think it's like a stronghold that has a grip on you. your mindset is there, your mentality, everything about you is there. It's like I want to be there, and that's what comes into your thoughts. That's what holds out your. That's what you're thinking of. That's your life. That's your lifestyle, and nothing could change that. Nothing could change your mindset unless you live it, not unless you go through it. And then when you come out, then you start thinking about it. God, why did I do that? God, why did I go there? And that happens when you're in there. When you're doing time, you always think about that. Man, why did I do that? Why did I go there? And also, it's in the mind. It's in the mind. It's a stronghold. And when you get out, you're not busting no more. You're okay now. You're not doing tiempo. You get out, man, and that feeling comes back. That mindset comes back. Like, no, I want to be out there again. And this is what I'm saying is that if I knew the things now back then, my life would have been different, because not everything that you see, my brothers, everything needs to be seen. Being out there in the volumes, man, it looks all good. But you have to understand, you don't see the big picture. You don't see who's going to be hurt. You don't know how much tempo you're going to do. You're going to be walking around, looking over your shoulder, when you're going to get busted, when you're going to go through some tempo, and who you're going to hurt, or are you take, when you going to get killed, when you're going to get shot. The value of the lifestyle of being the value, there's only two roads, and we have heard it many times. It's 6 feet on the ground or doing life in prison. That's the only two roles that you're gonna have: being in values, being in gangs, and living that lifestyle. Because that lifestyle, there is no there is, how can I say it? There is no freedom within yourself. It's like a magnet. You're always gonna get sucked in, because it's something that's part of you. And I believe that the only thing that got me out of it was my Lord Jesus Christ. He's the one that came into my life, and He's the one that changed me. He's the one that changed my mindset. He's the one that changed the. He's the one that took the darkness out of me. He's the one that said, "Come on, son. I love you, son. I want you to see things differently now. Now, as a matter of fact, son, I want to use you. I want to, everything you went through. I want to use that to benefit somebody else." And that's what's the reason why I'm here, because all my friends that are passed away, all the homies that grew up, man, they're all gone. May they rest in peace. But now I'm making videos, coming to you, talking to you, and letting youngsters know. Listen, that lifestyle is temporary. It's not gonna last forever. You're not gonna be out there, having a female time forever. When you're walking that kind of a lifestyle, there's always going to be darkness that's going to follow, darkness that you're going to end up at. And this is what I'm saying, is that there's a lot of youngsters, man, that they want to live that lifestyle. I believe that movie American Me, it got a lot of youngsters, man, to want to be known. A lot of youngsters that want to go to see it. Youngsters that want to have a name for themselves. But that's what's so wrong about it, because they don't know what they're getting themselves into. Being the pinta cana, the things I seen, I didn't want my kids to see that stuff. I didn't want my kids to go in there, man, and have to go through the things that I went through. I mean, we when I was in the condom, my neighborhood has there. We had a lot of palabra. We hold our own in there. I mean, I used to go in there. Yeah, I hold my own because I had to hold my own. Ain't nobody gonna come up to me and try to push my buttons. I was there, ready for anything. But it led me to sadness, man. It led me to misery. Wasting my time in the pinta, wasting my time in the jail, hurting the ones I love. And that's what I'm telling a lot of youngsters right now, man. They don't have to go that road. They don't have to go down that hill. They don't have to follow and do what somebody else wants you to do, because you could have that power over your mindset. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to give into it. But it's like I said, it's like a magnet, man. You get sucked in. And then if you don't know how to get out of it, you get stuck like a big old web. You get all entangled in it. And yeah. So even when I talk about it, when I talk about how it was feed me, be with the homeboys and be with the homegirls and just, man, having a good time. All that was good until you hear homeboy got shot, homeboy got killed, until you hear those things, man. And that's not life. That's not the lifestyle, man, that anyone should live. And I thank God, bro. I give God all the glory, man, for taking me out of the values, and I tell him, Lord, why me? Why me, Lord? And I wasn't trying to question God, but I said, why me? He says, because I want to use you, son. I want to use you también. Um, homie, he wants to use both of us to get on videos like this and to reach out to Arasa, to reach out, to whoever wants to hear and change that mindset, change that lifestyle of being in gangs and being in drugs. Because drugs right now is killing the gente, killing the little ones. And that's the foundation that we need to build. That's the foundation that we need to build to get the kids, man, out of their stinking thinking, out of their foolish ways, and get them into a life and introduce them to a man that changes lives. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason, carnal. I don't know everything. I don't. I know that I've been through a lot, went through a lot, did a lot. I did a lot of tiempo. I did tiempo for homeboys. I did tiempo that I shouldn't have done.
Mhm.
But I think that everything that I have done, I paid for it, even more. But I thank God, man, that He sees something in us. He sees something in you. That's why you're doing this video. And that's like about respect you cannot for even calling me on this video. And I just want to make things right here. I want to just say that I care for gente. I care. I'm not trying to make myself look good because I'm not. I've been through so
Right.
much, God. I'm not worthy, but I'm worthy because God has called me.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shouts to Zamora Trucking, who's a owner operator out there. Keep it between the lines, brother. Rubber side down, carnal. Um, a few things that you said right there. One is the movie American Me. I made a video talking about it. Did it have an impact? My goodness, it had an extreme impact, Holmes. I was a youngster when that movie came out, and I'll tell you, guys, it made a huge impact, man. Vatos probably won't admit it because they're too proud. So be it. But I saw myself included, and I saw everybody. Their demeanor changed, the way they were walking, the way they were talking, the way they were acting. It changed a lot. And if vatos don't want to admit it because they're too proud and say like, nah, homie, real gangsters, they didn't watch that movie, or they ain't down with it. That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. Be proud then. But I'll tell everybody that that movie, from what I saw, in my eyes, it changed a lot, man. Um, Danny, and I'm with you, Carnal. How do we? Well, you know what? Before I get to that, man, I kind of want to end it with that. But I want to talk a little bit about how you changed your life. You just went and spoke a few minutes, God, and that, giving a nice good testimony. But give us your testimony. How did you find God? Were you always a believer? I always believed in God, but to me, it was just because family. It's like, oh yeah, 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 I believe in God, but I wasn't following. I wasn't walking with the Lord. I could have even when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, 15, doing everything I was doing. If somebody asked me, "You believe in God?" Yeah, I believe in God. I never would disrespect the church or speak badly about God or anything. I always found that like, no, that's a no, because I again believe in God, but I never walked with the Lord. But when did you actually start walking with the Lord? How did that happen? And did you always believe in God?
I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in God because He took my dad when I was 9,
Gotcha.
and they were hurting me. And my mom, rest in peace, she used to always tell me my dad's in heaven. And I said, Mom, I don't want to hear it, Mom. Why would He take a dad from
Mhm.
me? And I had a brother, but I didn't raise with him. I didn't grow up with him. I had a brother. I didn't grow up with him. I grew up my own. And to make it clear that my dad was married to another woman before he married my mom. And when he was married to the other woman, he had two boys and three daughters, and they were big already. They were big. So when my dad passed away, I didn't hang around with them either because they were already I think in their 30s and 40s, and I was still a kid. So I grew up with no dad and really no brothers, even though I had brothers. I didn't grow up with them. So I want to make that clear. But
Okay.
yeah, I didn't believe in God. And so what happened is that I was curious. I used to hear about it in my neighborhood. We used to have people going in there from Victory Outreach, and I remember some girls used to go in there and talk to me and tell me, hey, Jesus loves you, and I said, oh, okay, but I wasn't interested in it because I didn't believe in it. And I would just look and they'll say, "You go to church, I'll be there." Like, okay, you gonna be there? Yeah, okay, I'll go if you're there. And I will get their paper to put in my pocket, but that was it. But
Mm.
I think it was in 1980 85 kind of that I came out of Soledad, and I was laying in bed, laying down. All my homies were calling me, and come on out, come on out. I didn't want to go out there, man. I didn't want to get busted again, because every time I already had a reputation of fighting with the cops and stuff, and a lot of my homies know that. The ones, well, a lot of them are dead already, but they knew that. So I questioned him that night. I questioned him. I said, if you are who you are, then show me. I go, because I don't believe in you. Is this what you created me for? You know. So it wasn't, brother, until about 3 years later, and one thing about God, brother, is that for a lot of people that don't know Him, I would like to say that God doesn't work in our time zone. He doesn't answer you when you expect Him to answer you, but He will. He will answer you though, because He did with me. So that right there, I asked Him, show me that you are who you are. So it wasn't about 3 years later that I get arrested again, and I go to Chino, I go to a guidance center, and I get arguing with this guy, And to cut the long story short, I hit this guy, boom, and I give him stitches. He had stitches, and so anyway, they handcuffed me because I had all his blood on me, but they didn't see me hit him, so they questioned me, and I told them I didn't do it. They go, "Why you have your blood on you for?" And I told them, "Wow, because I was breaking up the fight." So anyway, they transferred me to Soledad, and when I get to Soledad, I remember that was in the hole, because you stay there for at least 3 weeks before they let you out. But when I got out, I went to D wing, and from there I went to the yard. And I remember I was walking the yard. We're all decked out. We had our Levi's, all stars. We were walking the yard, and there was this guy in the middle of the yard. He was at his knees with his hands up in the air, and I'm like, "Hey, who's that guy over there? What's he doing?" And I said, "You don't know who that is?" He goes, "No." He goes, "That's so and so. I don't want to say his name. Rest in peace. Due
Yeah.
respect." But he goes, he gives a life to the Lord. Like what he did, I go right. And I knew about him, I heard about him, but and so 2 weeks later, I'm in the bleachers with all the camaradas at the sitting down. And he walks the yard, and I'm looking at him, and he stops right in front of us. And he points, he goes, "Hey, you." And he goes, I said, "Who's this pointing at?" He pointing at you. I go, "He pointing at me. How you pointing at you?" It's like, so I told him, "Who, me?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "What?" He goes, "God's calling you." I go, "Okay." I told him, "Okay." And that was the confirmation. That was a confirmation because when I had prayed to him 3 years prior to that,
Yeah.
when I got out a couple months later, and I was laying in bed, man, and he gave me a dream, and that dream came true, kind everything according to that dream came true. I walked downstairs, and my girl was cooking. Like, what are you doing? She was making burgers. Like, I'll be back. Where you going? I gotta go get well. And I walked outside, and I told one of my homeboys, he already passed away. I told me, from me, what day I gotta give high. And so I grabbed it from him. I went to the square. I waiting for my turn. And before you know it, my girl comes out. She goes, "You still out here?" I go, "Yeah, I'm next. I got to fix. I got to do mine." And so a customer came, and I sold the girl, boom, 2 fields. I started the botella. I turned around, and here comes because the neighbor, what car's going, what, who's who. And so this Pinto station wagon Toyota came in, and I tried to walk away, and I tried to leave, and no, they were behind me, whole freeze, and I got on my knees, and they handcuffed me. They took the $20 out of my pocket, and I turned around and I see my girl. She had a tear in her eye, and I woke up. That was the dream. I woke up, and but sometimes you wake up and you don't remember the dreams. Sometimes you'll see them like deja vu. I remember this dream, but it wasn't like that with me. I woke up. I didn't remember the dream, but I walked downstairs and she was cooking. I'll be back. I went outside. I grabbed the botella and I went and I sold it, and I stashed the botella. I came back. I seen the cops. I started turning around. I go to leave. They got behind me. They handcuffed me. And I looked at my girl. She was crying. And I get in the car. And when I got in the car, They took me to the glass house. I get to the glass house, and then from there, they took me to the county jail. I went all the way to the ninth floor, and I remember when I walked into my cell, they closed the cell. Bam! And when they closed it, that vision just came in front of me like a dream. It just came in front of me, and that's when I felt, man. I just dropped to my knees. I says, you know what? If you are who you want, then right here I am. You know, you were giving me this dream, and I didn't snap. I didn't realize it, and I remember, Kana, I will never feel the same. I will never feel the same from that day. I felt like a big old diesel just came off me. And I remember I turned around, I seen a Bible right there in my bed. I picked it up and they turned the lights off. And from the crack of the lights, I was reading the Bible. Never picked it up, never read it. And I read it from Genesis to Revelation. I was just reading. And I remember the next day they opened the cell and I'm out there, brother, and I'm preaching. I'm talking about Moses, Elijah, Enoch, John, Daniel. And I'm, what? And everybody looking at me like, what happened to you? I mean, you're here beating people up now. You're passing out the word. And then from there, God started opening many doors for me. I went to Chino Guiding Center and I preached God's word there for 3 years. And you
Mm,
know, for many of us, cannot, you know, sometimes when you come to the Lord, cannot, we get big headed, you know. Um,
right,
and I
right.
remember, go on. Um, well, we get big headed, cannot, we get big headed. And I remember I got out. I got out in there was 88. Yeah, in the beginning of '88, I got out, and I was doing good, and I was doing good, man. I stood away from the volume, you know, and I going to church. I was doing really good, and then many times in our walk, remember I told you about the mindset, what's got to change is that mindset. That mindset's got to change. People could carry the
Right.
Bible, I don't want to preach it, but people could carry the Bible, but if they're not willing to change the mindset, allow the Spirit to change your mindset, you're gonna be stuck. And so that's where I was at. I was so big headed, but my desires have not changed. I still had the desire to be in the body. I have the desire to be here, even though I was in the Word, even though I got saved, even though He gave me a dream, even though I was preaching for 3 years, and I turned my back on God. And that's when the movie American Me came in there. That's when I was out there, and
Okay.
that's what made that video out of me. And uh, and then after that, brother, that's when I have a big testimony. After that, a homeboy came up to me and told me, "Danny, what's wrong? What happened? Why did you turn your back?" And I remember I screamed at him, I yelled at him, and I ran to the Loma, to the top of the hill. And it was at 11 o'clock at night, and I threw the droga against the wall. And I says, Lord, I said, if you're calling me, give me a chance to come back, let me come back. Because no one, the Bible says no one comes to the Lord now he's being drawn. And I was being drawn right there by that homeboy. And I give my life, he allowed me to come back to him. That was 35 years ago. And that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. He has saved my life, kind of, from living in darkness. And that's the reason why I go into the jails and I speak to the gangsters and to the ones
That
that are doped out.
that's what I want to get into for a second here, Danny. And for anybody asking what's his channel, it will be posted. It will be in the comment section as soon as we're done with this live. It'll be pinned, so it'll be the first comment you guys see, man. For Danny's channel. How did you get involved with prison ministry? What how do you get into that? How do they just say, oh, you just want to come in here and talk about God, you're cool with it? How do you get involved in that?
Well, I know it's different because all of us are different. That's swallows differently.
Mm,
With me, it was different. I didn't know God wanted me back into the prisons. I didn't know God wanted me back in there. Um, after I came back to the Lord, um, I was married. And once I came back, she took off, and so I want to kind of get into that. We talk now. She's good and everything. I'm married and all that, but
mm.
um, my kids were I was sitting down in the living room. My kids. I came over here. I was having Bible studies at home, and I had a vision. Because God speaks to people differently. With me, He speaks to me in visions and dreams. And I was sitting down, and I had this vision, call the police station because where I lived at there was only a police station. There was no jails there, and
Mhm.
so I like what call the police station. And so I looked at my kids and I go, I have this vision, like a day vision to call the police station. And my kids go, Dad, call them. And so I called the police station, Canal, and can I help you? And I go, yeah, this is brother Daniel. I or Danny. I like to go in there and speak to the men about the Lord Jesus Christ. And the phone hanged up. It hanged up, and then it picked. And I thought they hanged up on me, but then it picked up again. And there was a
Mhm.
chief of police. He goes, this chief of police, Daniels, I forget his name, goes, can I help you? And I told him, yeah, I'd like to go in there and speak to you. I'd like to go in there and speak to the guys in there about the Lord Jesus Christ. He says, come tomorrow, 9 o'clock. And he hangs up. That's it. He didn't ask me who I was, what church I was, what religion. He just come tomorrow. So the next day I walked in there. And I remember when I walked in there, I walked in with this other Catholic guy, big old tall guy.
Mhm.
We both walked in there to his office. And the chief of police looks at me and he goes, you're in. That's how he goes, you're in. He says, all I want you to do now is get a hold of my jailer, Sergeant Garcia. He's going to get you fingerprinted. He's going to do everything for you. Get a hold of him. And I says, okay. I was so content. I had a big old smile. I shook his hand. I walked out the police station. And I tell you, many times in our walk, God would, he'll test your corazon. And
Right.
I knew that he wanted me going to jail. That was that vision for me to go in there. But it wasn't until 6 months later, I kept on calling, kept on calling, kept on calling. The guy, he's not there. He's on vacation. He's not there. Finally, and I had Bible studies at work. Some of the guys that was having Bible studies, I had told them, pray for me because I was trying to get in the jails. So finally, kind of after 6 months later, um, he calls me. He goes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But come in. I'll get you going. So I get there. He fingerprint me, everything. He says, when you want to come in? I go, when you want me to come in? He goes, come in next Thursday. I said, okay. So the next Saturday, he goes, come in next Saturday. Okay. So when I left that day, this was on a Friday, and this is the whole truth. I left that right when I get in my car. I'm leaving the police station. The alternator blows up, boom, and the hook goes up, and I'm like, what, right? And I just got paid, and I had my kids at home, and so I went, and some guy comes, he tows me my car over there, and I give all my failure to the guy, and I got the alternator fixed in the belt. I get home. Okay, that Monday, that Tuesday, I go to work, and I'm telling everybody's clapping for everybody's content that I'm going to go in that Saturday to the jails. And that Tuesday, one of my friends, we worked in this one company, we did sheet metals. And the guy tells me, goes, hey, he goes, Danny, can you come over here and hold down the sheet metal? It's going to go on this big old wheel. And I go, yeah. And I went over there and I had some gloves and I got the crowbar and I'm holding down the sheet metal because it was kind of, bended. And I was holding it down so the wheel could grab it and straighten it out. And as I hold it, he turned the machine on, but he turned it fast by accident and the machine grabs the crowbar and I let go of his hand, but this hand, the crowbar came down and slapped my glove on the bottom and was taking my hand into the wheel. And so I pulled my
Mhm.
hand out and half of my thumb got cut off. And I'm like, what? And I'm holding my thumb. And everybody
Yeah.
runs. I go to whole speed, okay? They bash me up. I go home that day. This is it right. I go home that day. So my kids are telling me, goes, Dad, what happened? Dad, you got this, your car, your alternator, and then this. That Thursday, I go back home. I'm gonna go back to to work, fill out paperwork, what happened, all that. So I'm driving home, and when I'm driving home, the ambulance are passing me up, and I'm
Mhm.
like, they're going and they're going towards my house. And I live right in front of the school. My kids will be in school and they'll come out same time I get out of work and I pick them up. And as I get there, my house is on fire, you know,
Oh.
and I'm like, what? And I park the car and I get off, man. I ran because my kids are in the house because I had taught them to go in the house. My kids in the house, and I passed these fire and I kicked the door down. I ran in the house and they grabbed me and no, you can't go in there. And they're throwing water in there. And then some girl goes, they're right here. I got them right here. And I turn around, she was across through the park. She was holding my kids. So I get my kids, man. And then the Red Cross comes and says, hey, we're gonna give you a voucher for a motel and so forth. So we're in the motel, and my kids are looking at me, go, Dad, what's going on, Dad? Your car, your thumb, now the house. And so I remember that I got on my knees and I told the kids, just pray right in the middle of the motel, and we started praying. And I said, Lord,
Mm,
I don't care if I have to walk to the jails, barefooted
mm,
or crawling. I want to go to jail Saturday. And so I did. I went into jail that Saturday and I preached. I just preached on faith, and it was powerful. First time I went in there, the Holy Spirit moved. That Monday, I get a call from Century 21. And I was kind of like, okay, what are they calling me for? I'm a single man with kids. They're gonna take my kids away from me, no house. And I'm like, well, come on, Lord.
right, right.
But I went,
In a
I went,
motel.
I went to Century 21, and they told me, you're that guy that has the three kids. I go, yeah. He goes, your house. I go, yeah. And he goes, here. And they put three keys on the table. And it says, these three keys to three houses. Go pick the house you want. And I says, what? It says, go pick the house you want. And I says, okay. And I got the keys. I took my kids out of school. They're all contento. I would want this house, Daddy. So I went back and I told this the house we want. They go, okay, you're working. I go, yeah. I go, I could pay the rent. I go, he goes, no, don't worry about it. Your rent is paid 3 months in advance. He says, and Red
Wow.
Cross give you like $500 of food for you and your kids. But this is the testimony, because remember I said God tests your heart. If I
Yep.
would have given up the 6 months that I was calling and calling and calling and calling, if I would have gave up, and the day the car broke down, the same week, my thumb break down, my house burns up. If I would have gave up, I would never receive those blessings. So this is the
Mm,
reason why. That was 35 years ago, and this is the reason why I'm still here. But my heart cannot. I come over here and I knocked in the jails, and I went in there and same thing. Check this out. I will real quick. Like I came over here from where I was at. I came over here and I went into the jails and I pressed that button and they go, "Can I help you?" I says, "My name is Daniel. I used to go to the jails over here. I'd like to come back and see if I could get in here."
mm,
They opened the door. I walked in into the jails and he
right.
goes, "You have ID?" And I go, "Yeah, I get my license." I go in. He goes, "Go inside, get the elevator. You're in the jails." He goes, "Go in the elevator, go up to the second floor, make a right, go to the chaplain's office." I go, "Okay." I walked in there. I seen this man in the chaplain's office, and I said, "My name is Daniel. I was going to the jails over here. I'd like to come in here and speak to the guys, boom, 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 of the Lord Jesus Christ." He didn't ask me what religion I was in. He doesn't ask me nothing. He goes, "Okay, here." He gives me a badge, a regular badge, and puts my name on there. He says, "Okay, come in next Thursday." So I thanked them. I went outside for 6 months. I was coming into the jails, talking to the guys, talking to the women for 6 months. And then one day I'm walking out, and this lady, a new chaplain, she goes, "Who are you?" And I go,
Mhm.
like, "What do you mean who I am?" She goes, "Yeah, who are you?" And I said, I'm a child of the Most High God. I'm doing God's will here. I'm reaching to a lot of souls. I'm talking to a lot of gangsters in here. She goes,
Right.
"Yeah, I know, but nobody knows who you are." And he goes, "When did you start coming here?" I said, "I've been coming about 6 months." And some guy named Bob. He goes, "Bob." He says, "What time did you see Bob?" And I told her the date. I go, "Why I see him so and so." He goes, "Man, that day when Bob gave me that badge, the
Mhm.
following day he passed away. And
Oh.
nobody knew why I was in there. Nobody knew what I was doing, but only God. And this is what I'm saying. When God opens doors for you, Carnal, nobody could close them. That's the reason why I'm here. That's the reason why I'm
Wow.
doing these videos, because God proved to me that He is who He says He is. And like I say, Kanan, it hurts me when I do videos and talk about the past, because all my friends are gone, all my homies are gone, the ones I grew up with. But
Mhm.
also I'm here to do God's will and talk to a lot of gangsters that they could change their lives. They don't have to be out there in drugs and gangs, man, because there's nothing there. And you know that. As far as we know that. And that's the reason I'm here. So I give you, I thank you, Kana. I thank you for calling me, and I thank you that I'm able to give a little a testimony in the way and where I came from, también, in the body that I grew up in.
Yeah, no, hey, thank you, Danny. Definitely not done with you, brother. I would love to have you come back on here another day, man, because there's just a lot to unpack, Hernan. So if you're open to it, I'd love to have you back on, man. But the time,
Anytime.
The time is against us. It's our worst enemy right now. It's time to wrap it up. But before we do that, Holmes, before I wrap it up, I want to go ahead and give you the floor, Holmes. Whatever, if you want to give any shout outs, if you want to, thank anybody, if you want to just give a word to anybody who could be listening now, tonight, later, a year from now, many years from now, whatever it's in your heart, brother, the floor is yours, Carnal. Handle it.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say that I want to thank you all for those that are listening, for those that are looking. I would like to say that not everything is what it seems to be. I would like to say that no matter what you're going through, there's a way out. There's a God that loves you. No matter if you're maybe you're going through divorce, maybe your kids ain't listening, maybe your kids are in jail, maybe you want to go to jail, maybe you're going to jail, maybe you're coming out of jail. I like to say, man, that the not take this video lightly. Listen to it. Don't listen to my words, but listen to what Jesus is talking to you in your heart. If you feel that something is touching you, that's the Holy Spirit touching you. Those are not me. That's not me touching you, but it's the Spirit that's touching you. There is a scripture in the Bible that it says in Psalms 34:17. It says that the righteous will cry out, I will hear you, protect you, and deliver you out of your troubles. He is there with the brokenhearted, and he saves those with a crushed spirit. For many of you out there right now, maybe you're hurting. Many of you out there right now going through problemas or trials. And there's a God that says that he will protect you. He will guide you. There's a scripture in Psalms 32:7. He is my hiding place. He protects me and he covers me with songs of deliverance. So the God that loved me and the God that saved me is the God that loves you and the God that saves you. Because God is no respectable man. What he did to me, he'll do for you. He took me out of the volumes, he took me out of the dungeons, he took me out of darkness, and now I'm the light of the Lord, and you're the light of the Lord. There's a scripture in Ephesians 5:8. Once you were in darkness, but now you're the light of the Lord. So walk as children of the light, for the fruit of the Spirit consists in goodness and righteousness. Seek those pieces of God and have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but expose it. So what I'm saying here is that everyone that's looking into this video, you have the power in the name of Jesus to overcome temptations, to overcome darkness. For those of you that are in values and for those of you that are stuck in values like a big old web, God is the one that could release you out of the values. God is the one that could release you because he will pour his spirit into you. And the Bible even says in Corinthians 3:17 that wherever the spirit of God is, there is freedom. So many of you that are seeking freedom, accept the Lord Jesus Christ, and he's the one that's going to set you free from bondage. And thank you for coming on. I want to thank you, also, brother, for giving me this opportunity to hear uh, part of my testimony and the lifestyle that I lived. So next time I can't wait till we come back again because yes, there's still a lot that we need to cover and a lot that we need to share for those that are out there that are willing to listen, need to hear.
Amen to that. As always, familia, live your life like you're on the road. Be aware of your surroundings and always keep a safe distance. Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. Till next time, this is Ed the Total Trucker for my man right here, one Mr. Danny and his Danny G, and his channel will be pinned in the comment section. Over and out.